Is quitting truly acceptable? In order to get confirmation, I asked my employer in front of me. To make matters worse, my younger female supervisor added, "I'd rather you leave as soon as possible while the severance I have to pay you is still minimal." I headed home after hearing her comments. The business was going to be in serious difficulty after this. That was not something this female employer could have predicted. I'm Michael Thompson, a 55-year-old divorced employee who started working for this corporation in the middle of my career. Even after 30 years of service, less than 5 years until I retire, I am still referred to as a sidelined employee. It's been nearly 30 years since I last saw my children. My ex-wife wished for them to avoid seeing me. At the time, there were disagreements, but today, well, it is what it is. I wanted to at least pay child support as a parent, but that stopped when my child reached adulthood. Right now, I don't have any unique plans to spend money. Never been motivated by a career. I now value being able to work each day at my own speed. On my days off, I like to go fishing and play golf by myself. Along the road, I've met folks with whom I've become friends and exchanged stories. While one of them is a farmer who provides me with fresh veggies from his garden, the other has a boat and occasionally takes me out to sea. No family, but with the social life I've established, I don't have time to be lonely. I really enjoy this laid-back way of life. Everything was in a rush when I got to work one day. What's going on? A younger coworker who was seated next to me asked. It's a sudden inspection from headquarters. Oh, I see. Everyone is rushing around because of this. I laughed and sat down to begin my task, saying, just show them how it normally is. Before, inspections had been unexpected, but had never really caused any problems. The dirty ones were usually the ones cleaning up. They wouldn't need to panic like this if they organized their daily lives a little. But I didn't realize that for years. The headquarters inspector showed there a few hours later. Despite her youth, she appeared to be a manager. As I saw her meet everyone, I thought she must be really capable. It's good to meet you. Julia, I'm from headquarters. I just want to check in on everyone's work today. Please continue as normal. We all gave a small nod and went back to our regular tasks. She was attractive. I was pleased to notice that the younger male staff members appeared somewhat preoccupied. What does this mean? During her inspection, Julia, the new manager, went about asking questions and occasionally grinning. Then she approached me, though. She turned to face me and said, what is this part-timer doing right now? Oh no. I'm a full-time employee, I said, forcing a grin. I'm sorry. Are you a supervisor? She said with a little smile. No, just an ordinary worker. As for my current assignment, just as I was about to explain, her tone changed suddenly. I looked up at the sound of her voice. A regular employee at your age. Her words were sharp, and she seemed angry, making me feel uneasy. Yeah, I'm just not much into climbing the corporate ladder, I stammered in response. She burst into laughter. Or is it just because you can't do the job? Incompetent and outdated. You're fired as of today. Don't bother coming back tomorrow. She spat out those words at me. Not just me, but the surrounding employees were also shocked. Ms. Ott, we can't afford to pay people who aren't contributing. It's necessary for cost cutting. There are plenty who can replace you. It finally hit me that I was being insulted, and I clenched my fists in anger. She was undoubtedly talented, but that was no excuse to belittle others. In anger, I stood up and said to her, "Is it really okay for me to leave then?" I asked Julia in front of me for confirmation. "I'd actually prefer you to leave now to save on the severance pay." "The sooner, the better," she said with a satisfied smirk, further insulting me. I no longer felt like working. I was told to leave after all. It wouldn't count as an absence, so I grabbed my bag and left the company. As I left the department, everyone tried to stop me, but nobody could say anything in front of Julia. Even though my direct boss outranked her, nobody defies headquarters staff, a tradition in this company. Without a word from my boss, I went home alone. The next day was Saturday, and the company was originally closed. Thinking about what to do from Monday, I decided not to waste the holiday fretting and went fishing instead. I take my time and think while doing something I love. Fishing is the perfect hobby for that. I headed out early in the morning to my favorite fishing spot. Despite my mood, the sea was calm today, promising a good catch for some fine fish marinade and drinks later tonight. With that thought, I cast my line. "Hey, I was wondering if you'd be here today." Someone called out to me. "Andrew." It was my fishing buddy, Andrew. We met here. He's a decade older than me, but has always been a great friend, taking care of me and listening to my life stories. "Any luck with the fish today?" "The sea's calm." I thought it would be a good haul, but it's not going as expected, I replied, opening my tackle box and showing just one fish. Andrew chuckled. "Just take it easy," he said, setting up his gear a little away from me. Clouds drifted slowly. The same fishing scene as always, yet my mood was unusually somber, probably because of yesterday's events. "What's wrong?" "You look down today," Andrew chuckled. I chuckled at his words. "Andrew, I owe you an apology." "What for?" Then I began to speak in bits and pieces. Actually, there was an inspection from headquarters last Friday. I met a manager there for the first time, and she seemed to take an instant dislike to me. I said, laughing awkwardly to hide my embarrassment. She told me I didn't need to come back. I was so angry that I just left. I might end up getting fired. After all the talks we've had and the encouragement you've given me, I'm sorry. "You don't have to apologize to me," Andrew said, then fell silent, staring at the bobber in the sea, occasionally sighing deeply as if deep in thought. I'd rather live a laid-back life than climb the corporate ladder, but it seems that the ambitious youth can't stand that attitude. Relationships are harder than work, aren't they? As I said this thoughtfully, Andrew spoke. "Well, I can understand the manager's point of view to some extent, but it's wrong to talk about firing so freely. A boss should understand the feelings and situations of their subordinates. That manager lacks that understanding. People who climb to the top with just their brains and grays often get it wrong." I thought, just as expected of Andrew. He said that and got angry, even caring about me. Talking to him made me feel much better. It's amazing how talking to someone can make such a difference. I thanked Andrew and managed to switch gears. After that, as if by magic, I started catching fish. Perhaps the fish didn't want to come near me when I was emitting a gloomy aura. I headed home with a much heavier cooler, thinking this to myself. 2 days later, despite it being Monday, I was at home. Even though I had been practically kicked out, I was debating whether to go. Andrew, whom I had met on Saturday, gave me some advice. The company is all about the people. Don't offer yourself to the company. Just take a break until they come to you apologizing. You've always worked hard, right? You must have a lot of vacation days saved up. Indeed, I had never used any, so I should have a few days' worth. Maybe it's a good time for a trip. As I pondered this, enjoying a leisurely morning for the first time in years, I decided to make some coffee and have a late breakfast. Then, my phone rang. It was the ringtone for a call. The screen showed the name of my department at the company. What could it be? I had already told my boss I would be using some paid time off. "Hello." Right after I answered, I heard my boss's frantic voice. "Michael, come to the office right now." "Why?" "I've already told you I'm using my paid time off," I responded. But my boss persisted. "Just come, please. There's a big mess. Our biggest client said they'll cancel all their contracts if you're fired. We need to go and plead to keep the contract going." I snorted. Why should I be the one to apologize? You saw what happened the other day, right? Julia told me I was fired and to go home. If she doesn't admit her fault and apologize before my vacation is up, I'll have nothing to do with the company anymore. So, I don't care about the future contracts. With that, I sipped my coffee. Don't say that. I know how hard you've worked. That should be enough. I appreciate your words, but no. No matter if Julia is a higher-up and I'm just a rank-and-file employee, it doesn't give her the right to be rude. You understand, right? Please consider this within the company. I hung up the phone after saying that. I had somewhat anticipated this might happen, but for Julia, it must have been a bolt from the blue. I might have caused trouble for everyone at the branch, but the words Andrew said, "Don't offer yourself to the company," stuck with me. That evening, my cell phone rang with a call from headquarters. Probably her, Julia. On the other end, I might be insulted again. Thinking this, I cleared my throat and answered. Hello. Hello, this is Julia from headquarters. Is this Michael's cell? Yes. What do you want? I replied coldly. She lowered her voice. I'm truly sorry for the rude things I said the other day. I was hoping you would allow me the opportunity to apologize, so I called. She didn't sound as confident and assertive as before. Probably her behavior towards me during the inspection got out to headquarters, and she must have been reprimanded. Okay. I figured listening to what she had to say couldn't hurt. She asked to meet at a restaurant, one of our company's clients, and preferred if I could come that night, saying she wanted to apologize as soon as possible. I got there before her, not expecting to have a meal together like this, but guessing it was necessary to win back that big contract. I could sense the company's desperation. Sorry for being late, Julia said as she entered the room. We sat down across from each other. I'm sorry for calling you up today. Looking like she might cry at any moment, she seemed fragile. Feeling a bit sorry for her, I smiled and said, I've already understood your feelings, Julia. I came here to forgive, but I thought your views were too biased. I'm not in a position to preach, but I wanted to hear you out. Encouraged by my words, she began to speak. Actually, I was raised by a single mother who was very strict. Being at a disadvantage as a single parent, she instilled in me that I must not lose to anyone, man or woman, whether it's in spirit or grades. She believed I needed to study hard, join a reputable company, and climb the corporate ladder. And I think that mindset is necessary to survive in society. She said this without even touching her meal. I nodded. That's not wrong, and it's quite admirable, actually. Thank you, she replied, and I gave her a reassuring smile. Julia continued, a bit relieved. So maybe I've been unknowingly imposing my I've worked so hard attitude on others. And that's why someone like me, who hasn't climbed very high, got targeted. I laughed in understanding, and she seemed to shrink in apology. I had no intention of blaming her anymore. She must have been struggling in her own way. I then encouraged her to start eating, noticing she hadn't yet. She seemed apologetic, but I figured she'd be hungry after work. We both began to eat. It had been a while since I shared a meal like this with someone, and I thought about it leisurely. But I was the only one feeling relaxed. She still seemed down. Well, the company doesn't run on bosses alone. You're still young. It's good you've realized this now, I said, trying to cheer her up. Finally, Julia seemed to truly relax. Thank you. After she spoke to me, she started eating her meal. Her mother must have been desperate to make her successful. She seems to be a well-mannered lady. Then, we chatted about trivial things. Not having gone to college myself, I listened to her college stories and asked about headquarters. The awkwardness dissolved, and we enjoyed our meal. During the conversation, she asked me, By the way, why did Andrew, the president of the main contractor, say he would cancel the contract if you weren't there? I laughed. Oh, Andrew is a fishing buddy of mine. We met by chance, got along well, and I talked earnestly about work. That's why he did business with us, not just because we're good friends, but because he was convinced by my proposals. Her eyes widened in surprise. And you landed such a big contract. She fell silent, understanding the implication. Despite securing such a big deal, why hadn't I climbed up the ranks? I really had no desire for promotion, I said with a smile, which made her smile back. Well, there's a point person for Andrew's company, but direct requests often come to me. He knows I'm diligent and trusts me as a business partner, so we've maintained a good relationship. That's how it was. You've really been the backbone of the company, and I've been so. She paused. Don't worry about it anymore. She's not a bad person after all. Being a manager at her age must have required considerable effort. Julia seemed to feel ashamed for having thought that I contributed nothing to the company just based on appearances and outcomes. If you've learned from this, all you need to do is keep at it. I'm already 55 and nearing retirement. I don't have a family, so I don't plan on climbing any higher. But I think your approach isn't wrong. Keep up the good work. I'd encouraged her again, and she looked up. No family, right. I have nothing particular to protect, so I plan to live my life carefree from here on out. She responded with a kind smile, perhaps thinking there's a different way to live life after hearing about mine. I decided to continue working hard to ensure the company would be a place where Julia and the others could thrive after my retirement. Then, I cut short my leave and returned to work. Everyone in my department was relieved to see me. When they started to badmouth Julia, I told them, "We've made peace." I heard her side of the story. We're all colleagues here. Let's stop attacking each other. I was grateful they spoke up for me, but gossip breeds more gossip. Everyone agreed with my words, and we were able to return to our normal work environment and thankfully resume our tasks. A few months later, as I was enjoying my usual pleasant days at work and fishing with Andrew and other friends on weekends, a rumor reached my ears. Julia, the manager, is said to have fudged her performance for a promotion and might face a disciplinary meeting. I was surprised. A disciplinary meeting? That could mean demotion, a pay cut, or, at worst, disciplinary action. I couldn't believe Julia would do such a thing. That day, we talked about many things, including her struggles and hard work. I didn't see any lies in her expression as she talked about her efforts and the challenges in her job. Of course, if the wrongdoing is real, she should be properly punished and reflect on her actions. But if it's a wrongful accusation, it would be too pitiful. If there's even a slight chance of an unjust charge, I wanted to help clear her name. After that incident, I couldn't think of her as a stranger. Of course, the HR department must have already investigated what I was looking into. Still, I reviewed the documents she created and the transaction records I heard about. Among them were documents from a company where one of my golf buddies serves as a director or executive. I contacted various people and was informed that there was no fraud in her transactions. In fact, everyone unanimously said Julia really worked hard. So, I conveyed this to HR. The HR director is my peer. Though we call each other peers, I was hired mid-career, so he's actually younger than me, but we go way back. If Michael says so, it must be right. He trusted my word. Later, it turned out that the rumor was spread by one of her envious subordinates who was older than her. It's astonishing how low-level people exist everywhere. They ended up getting suspended. A few days later, Julia returned to our department. "Michael, can I have a word?" She called me out, and I followed her into a separate room, feeling a bit nervous. She said, "Thank you for what you did the other day. I heard from the HR director that you cleared my name. I appreciate it." She expressed her appreciation deeply. I said, "It was nothing. I couldn't believe you would do something like that. I just happened to have a little chat because the director is an old acquaintance." I was laughing, but my heart was pounding. Still, I had to say it. Can I ask you something? I said to Julia, who looked at me curiously. I've been looking into your documents, and it was the first time I learned your name. I looked down, too nervous to face her. My name. It's Julia Williams, she said. I gathered my courage and spoke my mind. Actually, my ex-wife's maiden name was Williams, and I have a daughter named Julia, whom I haven't seen since she was 2. What? Julia froze for a moment, then exclaimed in shock. I finally looked up, scratching my head. I'm sure it's a coincidence, but I thought, maybe. Tears filled her wide eyes as she stared at me intently. I looked into her eyes, waiting for her words. Michael Thompson is my father's name. I learned it when I first got my birth certificate. At that, I was dumbfounded. It's me, I muttered. Naturally, tears involuntarily fell from my eyes. Upon hearing my words, Julia cried out like a child and clung to me tightly. I hesitantly wrapped my arms around her back. The last time I held her was when she was 2 years old. Seeing her grown up so much without my knowledge brought back stories of her efforts, and I teared up again. Is your mom doing well? I asked, and she nodded happily. I truly wanted to express my gratitude to my ex-wife for raising such a wonderful daughter. I never imagined reuniting in this way. I thought I had no family left, yet here she was, so close, still unbelievable to me. I believe that due to the people I've met and my diligent efforts, I've finally been able to do something meaningful for my daughter. It reaffirms my belief in the importance of trust and relationships. If you work earnestly, the day will come when your efforts are rewarded, and it may become a tool to help yourself and your loved ones unexpectedly. And then there's me, without a desire for promotion, and my daughter, with her high aspirations. Though our wishes differ, our dedication to the company is sincere. That's why we should both continue to live honestly according to our beliefs. I want to live a relaxed life rather than climb the corporate ladder. But at the very least, I want to work earnestly until the end and leave some retirement money for my daughter. Respecting her feelings, I want to support her career ambitions wholeheartedly, without denial. This way, I'm sure both my daughter and I will find happiness.